Batman and Spider-Man are two of the biggest names in the comic book industry. The two heroes boast an extensive rogue gallery and have their own entourage. But even then, what makes these two characters stand out is just how far they are willing to push themselves for what they believe in. Both have no shortage of comeback stories. But how would the poster boys for Marvel and DC fare in a fight against each other? This is a tricky question to answer, but it all depends on who you ask. If you really want an unbiased estimation, I suppose a fair point to start would be to see how each competitor would generally fare in a fight. Let's start with combat skills, and more specifically, hand-to-hand combat. Peter is incredibly versatile, and his advanced physiology gives him better speed and proprioception. He has been known to take on and defeat opponents like Black Panther, Quicksilver, and Wolverine with relative ease, mostly because of his super fast reflexes. But is it enough to go toe-to-toe with the Dark Knight? Batman is nothing less than one of the greatest fighters on Earth. At the very least, Bruce Wayne has mastered 162 different martial arts when he was training with Ra's al Ghul and the League of Shadows. But this doesn't mean Batman is out of the woods yet. While Batman's decades of experience in combat and fighting have made it easier to predict enemy movement and attacks, it does not compare to Peter's Spidey sense. This ability lets him feel oncoming danger long before it even occurs. But what makes this so deadly is that his Spidey sense is deeply interlinked with his super speed and insane reaction time, allowing him to read attacks better than Caped Crusader. In fact, it doesn't matter if Batman's attacks occur from the covers of darkness or the speed of a missile. There is almost nothing that can reach Spider-Man without him realizing it first. You might have heard the phrase, "It's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog." Which one of these characters has the tenacity to keep pushing their limits to fight? One could argue that Peter possesses great quantities of mental fortitude, for instance, when he breaks out of Doc Ock's nanobot control through sheer willpower. But this pales in comparison to the Dark Knight. Batman is particularly unstoppable and is known to have the strongest willpower of any DC character. In the past, no physical injury or psychological forces could slow him down. He can resist most forms of psionic assault, making his brain one of the few completely shielded from intrusion. This is best observed in his ability to use Green Lantern's ring if the situation really demands it. Using a power ring takes intense training and focus, but Batman is able to use it with relative ease. So, if it came down to it, Batman would find a way to always continue fighting. Plus, another big factor in favor of Bruce Wayne is the fact that Batman is considered to be the world's greatest detective. While we have established that Spider-Man is smart and all, he doesn't come close to Batman's deductive and investigative skills. From a fight, Batman could probably understand how his web shooters work, or could understand the nature of the Spidey sense. Peter Parker is a smart man, ranking among the finest minds in the Marvel scientific community. He might be nimble on his feet and in the air, but it's his brain that has to work all the faster to keep up. Still, he doesn't even come close to the sheer genius of Batman, whose lack of superpowers has forced him to develop alternative strategies to defeat his enemies. Using his resources at Wayne Tech, he could definitely come up with something to confuse the webhead spider sense. If Batman had the time to create some sort of poison or chemical compound that could cloud it, it would make the battle a little more even. And surpassing the Spidey sense is not something unheard of. If Spider-Man is distracted, then his spider sense isn't as strong. If Batman could destroy his web shooters, it would make the fight a little more difficult for Spider-Man. But I'm sure Peter could counter this very well with his agility and speed. If you have ever read the Slinger series, you see Peter Parker taking on different personas other than Spider-Man, so he knows how to fight without web shooters. But then it's all down to physical strengths, which Spider-Man would trump him at that. Spider-Man has come out on top against Venom, Carnage, Electro, and Phoenix-powered Colossus in magic. It would take Batman during brightest day and blackest night to even instill fear in Peter. His life experience and power set negate a large part of Bruce's tactics, and gadgets are just a thing. While the argument can be made that Batman manages to beat superpowered villains with no powers himself, the point is, he and Spidey are both heroes, so they are written to win. Because of that, I think it's a safe bet Spider-Man would win. And let's be honest, he's got the agility, the maneuverability, the webbing, and the spider sense to boot. Also, these kinds of debates just don't work with Batman. It's always scenarios revolving around how much prep time he has. Forgetting all that prep time nonsense, if they both met in the city with what they usually carry on them, Spider-Man would win for sure. Batman's strength in pure combat is using the shadows and getting the jump on people, something basically impossible for him to do against Spider-Man. He also carries a lot of gadgets, but I can't think of one that he carries that is enough to beat Spider-Man. In the air, Spider-Man can stick to anything and can quickly change direction with webs from both hands, while Batman is limited to where his single grappling gun can reach. Spider-Man is stronger, faster, and more capable of taking damage. Because of that, I think the edge would go to Spider-Man. This was just my take on the fight. I mean, given enough prep time, Batman could literally win anything. Even Superman says that Batman is the single most dangerous person in the world. That's why it's only fair to see how well he could adapt in a fight with no prep time. But yeah, that's just my take on the fight. What do you guys think? Do you think that Batman would stand a chance against the Webhead? Let us know what you think in the comments. And while you're down there, consider subscribing for more content like this. And as always, thanks for watching.